you ever noticed how someone can seem interested in you until you start trying too hard? At first, everything feels natural. You talk, you laugh, you enjoy each other's attention. Then something changes. You start thinking about them more. You message them first every time. You wait for their reply, check your phone again and again, and start wondering why they haven't answered yet. You tell yourself that you're simply showing interest. But sometimes, the more attention you give someone, the less interested they become. And this is where human psychology gets interesting. Because people don't always value what is constantly available to them. When something requires no effort, no uncertainty, and no patience, our brain can slowly stop treating it as something exciting. Think about it. If someone messages you once, you might feel curious. If they message you constantly, ask where you are, what you're doing, why you haven't replied, and whether you still like them. That curiosity can quickly turn into pressure, and pressure changes attraction. This doesn't mean you should play games or deliberately ignore people. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about understanding the difference between genuine interest and emotional dependence. When you genuinely like someone, you want to talk to them. But when you become dependent on their attention, something changes. You stop enjoying the connection and start needing reassurance. You begin asking yourself questions like, why haven't they replied? Did I do something wrong? Are they losing interest? Should I message again? And suddenly, your entire mood depends on another person's behavior. That's when trying too hard becomes visible. People can feel when your attention comes from confidence, and they can also feel when it comes from fear. Confidence says, I like you, but I'm okay without your approval. Neediness says, please give me attention so I can feel okay. And those two energies create completely different reactions. The strange part is that you may believe you're getting closer to someone, while they're actually beginning to feel further away, because attraction needs space. It needs room for curiosity, room to miss someone, room to wonder what they're doing. And sometimes, the moment you stop trying to control the connection, you finally give it a chance to grow naturally. But why does this happen inside the human brain? Why can too much attention sometimes make someone lose interest? The answer goes deeper than simply playing hard to get. And once you understand the psychology behind it, you'll start seeing your relationships very differently. But here's where things become even more interesting. The problem isn't simply that you're giving someone too much attention. The deeper problem is what that attention communicates. When you constantly check on someone, constantly message them, and always make yourself available, you may unintentionally tell their brain that your attention is guaranteed. There is no mystery, no uncertainty, no opportunity for them to wonder about you. And human beings are naturally curious about things they don't completely understand. This doesn't mean you should disappear or start playing childish games. It means you should allow the relationship to breathe. Think about the difference between wanting someone and needing them. Wanting someone means you enjoy their presence. Needing them means their presence controls your emotions. If they reply quickly, you're happy. If they take longer, you're worried. If they seem distant, your entire mood changes. And that emotional dependence can slowly become visible. You might send another message just because they haven't replied. Then another one. You might start explaining yourself when nobody asked for an explanation. You might even change your personality because you're afraid they will lose interest. But the more you try to secure someone's attention, the more pressure you can create. And pressure rarely creates genuine attraction. It creates resistance. Imagine someone constantly standing next to you, asking if you like them, asking if everything is okay, and needing reassurance every few minutes. Even if you care about them, eventually you may want some space. Relationships work in a similar way. Healthy attraction needs closeness, but it also needs independence. You should still have your own life, your own goals, your own friends, your own interests, your own time. When someone sees that you are happy with your own life, your attention becomes something you choose to give. not something you desperately need to receive. And that difference is powerful, because confidence isn't saying, "I don't care about you." Confidence says, "I care about you, but I don't lose myself because of you." That's the balance most people miss. They think the solution is to care less, but the real solution is to become less dependent on the outcome. You can show interest, you can send the message, you can make the effort. Just don't make another person's response the measurement of your worth. Because the moment you stop chasing reassurance, you start becoming more emotionally free. And strangely, that freedom can make your presence much more attractive. And this is where many people make their biggest mistake. They notice someone becoming distant, and instead of giving them space, they increase their effort. They send more messages. They ask more questions. They try harder to make the other person laugh. They become more available. But instead of bringing the person closer, they can push them even further away. Why? Because attraction cannot be forced. The more you try to control someone's feelings, the less natural the connection becomes. You stop having a conversation and start performing for approval. You carefully choose every message. You wait for their reaction. You analyze every word, and slowly, you stop being yourself. That's when something important disappears. Authenticity. People are naturally drawn to someone who seems comfortable being themselves, not someone who constantly changes depending on who is watching. Think about the people you respect. They're usually not desperately trying to prove their value. They have their own opinions, their own interests, and their own direction. They don't need everyone to approve of them. That doesn't mean they're arrogant. It means their confidence doesn't depend on constant validation, and that creates something powerful. Emotional stability. If someone takes hours to reply, you continue your day. If someone cancels a plan, you don't immediately assume they don't like you. If someone becomes distant, you don't chase them for an explanation every 5 minutes. You simply observe. You give them space. And you allow their actions to tell you what their words might not. Because sometimes, the strongest response to distance isn't chasing. It's stepping back. Not to manipulate someone, not to make them jealous, but to protect your own peace. When you stop chasing, something else happens too. You begin to see the relationship more clearly. You notice whether the other person actually makes an effort. Do they start conversations? Do they ask about you? Do they make time for you? Do they remember the things you tell them? Or were you carrying the entire connection by yourself? Those questions matter, because a healthy relationship isn't built by one person constantly giving while the other person simply receives. It requires movement from both sides. And if you have to constantly convince someone to stay interested, their lack of interest may already be the answer. The goal isn't to become harder to get. The goal is to become harder to lose, because you know your own value. And once you understand that, you stop begging for attention. You stop chasing every reply. And you start choosing relationships where the effort feels mutual. That's when your attention becomes valuable again. Not because you are withholding it, but because you are no longer giving it away at the cost of yourself. And once you understand this, you begin to realize something important. You were never supposed to convince someone to choose you. Real attraction doesn't need constant persuasion. It grows when two people naturally enjoy being around each other. That's why giving someone space isn't the same as ignoring them. There's a difference between being distant and simply having your own life. You can care about someone without making them the center of your entire world. You can miss them without immediately sending another message. You can want their attention without needing it to feel valuable. And that balance changes the way you behave. You become calmer. You stop overthinking every little detail. You stop checking your phone every few minutes. You stop wondering whether you said the wrong thing. Instead, you start watching what the other person actually does. Because actions reveal effort. If they are interested, they will usually find some way to show it. Maybe they start the conversation. Maybe they ask questions. Maybe they make time for you. Maybe they remember small things you've said. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to feel mutual. And if everything depends on you, that's not connection. That's chasing. The moment you understand this, Rejection also becomes easier to handle. Someone losing interest doesn't automatically mean something is wrong with you. Sometimes two people simply aren't compatible. Sometimes the timing is wrong. Sometimes their feelings are different. And sometimes they simply don't want the same thing you want. You don't need to convince them otherwise. Your value doesn't disappear because someone couldn't see it. That's one of the hardest lessons in relationships, but also one of the most freeing. Because when you stop trying to be chosen by everyone, you become much more selective about who you choose. You start asking a different question. Not, how do I make them like me? But, do I actually like the way they treat me? That question changes everything. Because attraction should never require you to abandon yourself. You shouldn't have to become less confident, less honest, or less yourself just to keep someone's attention. The right connection gives you room to breathe. You don't constantly feel like you're trying to keep it alive. There is effort, but there is also ease. There is interest, but there is also independence. And there is closeness, without losing yourself. So if someone starts becoming distant, don't immediately panic. Don't chase. Don't beg. Don't try to prove your worth. Take a step back and observe. Sometimes the answer becomes obvious when you stop forcing the situation. And sometimes the person you were desperately trying to keep was never meant to stay. And maybe this is the biggest lesson of all. You don't become more attractive by making someone chase you. You become more attractive when you stop chasing approval. When you know who you are, you don't need to constantly prove your value. You can show interest without losing yourself. You can care without becoming dependent. You can love someone's presence without being afraid of their absence. And that's a completely different kind of confidence. Because real confidence isn't pretending you don't care. It's knowing that even if someone walks away, you'll still be okay. You still have your goals, your friends, your passions, your own life. And most importantly, you still have yourself. This is why having your own life matters so much. When you're busy building something meaningful, you don't have time to constantly check whether someone has replied. When you're focused on becoming better, you don't need another person's attention to feel valuable. And when you genuinely enjoy your own company, you stop accepting relationships that make you constantly question your worth. You also stop confusing attention with connection. Someone can message you all day and still not truly care about you. Another person might not message constantly, but when they are with you, they are completely present. Quality matters more than quantity. So if you're interested in someone, show it. Don't be afraid to make the first move. Don't pretend you don't care. Just remember one thing. Your effort should be met with effort. Your interest should be met with interest. And your respect should be met with respect. If you're always the one reaching out, always the one planning, always the one trying to keep the conversation alive, take a moment to step back. Not as a game, not to make them jealous, but to see what happens when you stop carrying the entire relationship yourself. Sometimes, the silence will tell you everything you needed to know. And if they come closer, you'll know they're choosing to. If they don't, you'll finally stop wasting energy trying to change their mind. That's not losing someone. That's gaining clarity. Because the right person won't require you to constantly prove why you deserve their attention. They'll simply want to be there. And when both people choose each other freely, there is no need to chase. There is no need to beg. There is no need to pretend. There is just connection. So remember, don't try to become impossible to get. Become impossible to lose by becoming the best version of yourself. Live your life. Protect your peace. Give people genuine attention, but never give away your entire sense of worth. Because the moment you stop chasing someone else's approval, you finally start giving yourself the attention you've been asking from everyone else. And that is where real confidence begins. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more psychology and human behavior.